History of net neutrality in USA. The battle for net neutrality, though in a different form, started in 1934 when the U.S. Communications Act granted the FCC the right to regulate all domestic and foreign communications, provided there were no restrictions on the communication devices and means. Fast forward to the 1980s, when the FCC created a computer policy to separate basic services from enhanced ones. Roads, airlines, and phone lines came under the basic category while anything that used a computer came under the enhanced category. This distinction became more relevant when the Internet came about in 1989. In 1996, the U.S. Telecommunications Act renamed basic providers as telecommunication carriers and enhanced service providers as Internet service providers. By 2002, cable broadband emerged and it was seen as an information service that was free from any kind of federal regulation. An important milestone happened in 2003 when Professor Tim Wu coined the phrase net neutrality for the first time. After creating much buzz among academicians and lawmakers, this concept was debated and implemented as a principle 2 years later. The FCC made its mark in 2005 when its then chairman, Michael Powell, laid down 4 principles for Internet use. Freedom to access all legal content. Freedom to use any kind of online application. Freedom to attach personal devices to the computer for downloading and saving content. Freedom to obtain any service plan. Reclassification and other shenanigans. In the same year, DSL and other wireless providers were reclassified as information services, which meant that they were not subject to consumer laws and protections. In fact, in a landmark judgment in 2007, Comcast, accused of reducing torrenting speeds, won a case against FCC. The court ruled that Comcast was not a telecommunications provider, so was not subject to the Open Internet rules. 2009 was another important year in net neutrality. In this year, the EU adopted legislation under which any user signing a contract with the ISP should be informed of bandwidth and connection speeds, including the restrictions that came with the service. This way, users could make informed choices while signing an agreement. In the same year, the U.S. Recovery and Reinvestment Act granted $7.2 billion in investment with strong conditions and stipulations on net neutrality. Despite these positive developments, restrictions continued to exist. In 2010, for example, UK operators were accused of blocking P2P and video streaming sites while Google and Verizon tried to cut a deal that was against the established net neutrality rules. This led to protests from websites like Reddit and Wikipedia, but also from public interest groups that wanted to keep the Internet free. In 2014, the EU approved regulations to boost net neutrality and, around the same time, many Americans signed a petition that demanded the FCC reclassify broadband service providers as telecommunication providers. After a long struggle, much of it fought in courts across the land, net neutrality got a boost when, in 2015, the Democrats pushed through tough net neutrality laws that provide unhindered Internet access to everyone. This net neutrality order was one of the signature policy achievements of the Obama administration and required ISPs like Verizon to treat all content equally. These telecom companies criticized the rules as burdensome and unnecessary, but was welcomed by online startups and smaller players as they believe ISPs shouldn't abuse their position to favor one website over another. Net neutrality now and in the future. All the above strides made toward net neutrality could be undone as the Trump administration has some very different ideas concerning the future of the Internet. This is evident from the appointment of Ajit Pai as the FCC chairman. During the net neutrality debate in 2015, Pai voted against the order. He even said in December 2016 that the days of net neutrality were numbered. Pai believes broadband companies should not be subject to the same rules as that of traditional cell phone companies and wants to repeal the net neutrality laws put in place in 2015. After Pai's appointment in January, the Republican-controlled FCC very quickly took some small steps towards dismantling current net neutrality laws, like allowing ISPs to sell on customer data, but Pi has turned up the heat by several degrees this week, which will likely lead to a bitter battle over the future of Internet regulation. Pi seems mostly motivated by the desire to make telecom companies more competitive, and he sees current regulation as a barrier to their continued growth. He even contends that ISPs are not motivated to invest more money because they don't stand to gain much from it. Records show that investment from the nation's 12 largest ISPs decreased by $3.6 billion in 2016 when compared to 2014, which Pi attributes to the net neutrality laws put in place by the Obama administration. New boss, new rules. The new set of rules that he proposes would eliminate the utility-style regulation on ISPs and will reduce the FCC's broad authority to oversee ISP behavior. In addition, Pi and FCC want to collect public input to modify or even eliminate rules that prevent ISPs from blocking or throttling traffic. These new provisions can give ISPs a free hand to enter deals with websites to promote specific content or move some websites to so-called Internet fast lanes, which could speed up traffic to some sites while slowing down traffic to others. What this means is that in the US, Internet access will be controlled by a few rich corporations, and they'll charge content providers on a pay-to-show model. Big companies like Google, Twitter and Facebook can enter into a deal with an ISP to showcase their content. However, smaller startups can't afford such deals, and in turn, this will stifle innovation. However, it looks like none of those issues matter to President Trump, Pi, or any other Republicans. They all seem hell-bent on pandering to ISPs. It's worth noting in this case that Pi worked as a lawyer for Verizon Communications from 2001 to 2003. Support for net neutrality. As you can imagine, ISPs like Comcast have cheered the new wind blowing in Washington, but some other large corporations have voiced opposition. The Internet Association, a group which includes companies such as Facebook and Google, are opposed to the new rules, as they too believe that the Internet should be free and open to all, as do many startups. Politically, the Democrats as well as many members of the public are fighting the new rules as well. The main fear seems to be not just that companies will be allowed to charge whatever they want, but also that the new rules could lead to more monitoring from the NSA, as the new laws will positively encourage it. These fears have led to an intense debate between pro- and anti-net neutrality groups. Already, 1.6 million public comments have flooded the Save the Internet website. The fight is also getting dirtier, as racist messages aimed at Pi's Indian heritage are also flying around the Internet.